Bonjour à tous et toutes. Ça me fait plaisir de faire l'introduction de cette conférence d'aujourd'hui. C'est une conférence qui va être proférée par Dr. Denise Reis Miranda. C'est un médecin, c'est un chercheur qui vient de Pays-Bas, de l'Université de Groningen. Dr. Miranda a toute une trajectoire de travail aux unités de soins intensifs. Il a coordonné un grand projet en Europe appelé Euricus. C'est un projet qui a eu une duration à regrouper 3 grands projets et a une durée de 10 ans. Dans le troisième projet, c'était beaucoup centré sur les coûts aux unités de soins intensifs. Ils ont noté le besoin de développer un outil comme le Nursing Activity Score. Donc, cet outil sur lequel il va parler aujourd'hui, il est né de ces projets qui ont été faits en Europe. Alors, il est beaucoup utilisé dans le monde, dans le monde d'une façon générale. Et aujourd'hui, il va nous parler un peu de comment utiliser cet outil pour estimer les coûts de patients liés aux soins infirmiers prodigués aux patients à l'unité de soins intensifs. Alors, merci beaucoup, Dr. Miranda, d'avoir accepté cette invitation. Je dois souligner que c'est une conférence qui est supportée, qui était possibilitée par la Faculté des sciences infirmières et également par les réseaux de recherche en intervention en sciences infirmières du Québec. Alors, nos remerciements à la faculté et au RISIC pour donner cette opportunité de donner cette visibilité. J'aimerais souligner aussi que cette activité aujourd'hui, elle a fait partie d'un des projets que nous avons, qui est développé présentement avec une subvention du RISIC. Donc, c'est grâce à ces projets que nous sommes ici aujourd'hui, que nous comptons sur la présence du Dr. Miranda. J'ai ici avec moi notre vice-doyenne de la recherche. OK. J'ai ici aussi ma vice-doyenne de la recherche, Clémence Dallaire, qui vous salue aussi et qui je dois remercier pour tous les supports, les soutiens pour rendre possible cette activité. Merci beaucoup, Clémence. Et maintenant, je vous demande juste de fermer votre micro parce que je vous écoute un peu, juste pour être plus tranquille. Merci beaucoup, Dr. Miranda, c'est avec vous. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. I will do my presentation in English, but my French is not good enough to do the presentation only in French. I would like to thank Professor Galani very much for the invitation he extended to me to come here to talk to you. It's a very new experience to me to talk to different faculties at the same time. And I will try to explain you the development of the NAS, the Nursing Activities Score, and the importance of this development of the instrument for the calculation of costs in the intensive care unit.
Est-ce que dans les sites à distance, s'il vous plaît, juste faire attention à votre micro. Il y a des micros qui sont ouverts et ici on écoute la voix du professeur Miranda qui vient de vous. C'est juste fermer votre micro, s'il vous plaît. Vous assurez que vous avez votre micro fermé. S'il vous plaît.
Obrigado. Intensive care is not very old. Intensive care is about 70 years old. And immediately after the appearance of the intensive care, questions raised about the costs of the intensive care, because suddenly there was a department in the hospital, of a place in the hospital where the costs were much higher than in any other place in the hospital. Therefore, the questions and to know whether it was necessary of which kind of patients should need the intensive care were obviously clear, easily or rapidly made to be answered. And this is the reason why the need for quantification appeared also to try to answer those type of questions. And the first instrument that has been developed to try to make some kind of quantification of patients into the intensive care and in the intensive care was the TIS, and the TIS is the Therapeutic Intervention Scoring System, which was developed in 1974 by Cullen and Associates, and this was based on the interventions that were made in it, and to explain to everybody that those were interventions that could not be performed in the normal wards. So this was a kind of an instrument to associate the interventions that were required to the severity of the patients. This was first developed to justify the need for the intensive care and indicate the severity of illness of those patients. This system worked for some years until in 1981 Knaus developed the Apache system, which was based on physiology. This the big difference between and Apache was that whereas this was based in the interventions that were necessary for the patients, which in a certain extent was a proxy of severity. We need those interventions because the patient is severely ill. The Apache appeared up to measuring the illness itself, measuring the physiologic derangement in a way that people could understand the gradation or the hierarchy of severity of the patients admitted to the intensive care. Initially this would associate the intervention with severity. But at the time Apache did appear, this changed from pointing out the severity just to pointing more in the direction of the amount of the nurses that were required for treating of the patients. Let's say what was the relation between one nurse for how many patients. And this was the first quantification medicine in the last century, let's say. Let's have to do next. The points of which these were made were based on interventions or associated with the severity of illness. And you have here, for instance, 4 points for some of those interventions and 3 points for other interventions, 2 points and 1 point. And those points were attributed by a panel of experts that would associate the amount of points to the severity of the patients. This was giving some kind of strange information on the relation of, let's say, of the points with the work that the nurses would have from the intervention. Let's say the work that was necessary to perform to put the interventions at work. One example is where you can see that from the experts, 4 points were attributed for controlled ventilation with muscle relaxants, 3 points were attributed to intermittent mandatory ventilation, 2 points for spontaneous ventilation via TPs, and this was understandable because if you attribute the points in relation to severity of illness, the patients that are submitted to controlled ventilation with muscle relaxant are obviously more severely ill than the patients that afterwards will come to spontaneous ventilation via TPs. In a certain way, those points and the decrease of the points attributed to the interventions is associated with the course of illness. When the illness improves, then there is less severity and the points attributed are small. You can understand from this that when you look from the attribution of these points from the side of a nurse, he will tell we have much more work if the patients are spontaneously ventilated than when they are controlled ventilation with muscle relaxants. We don't need to do much with these patients, but if they are spontaneously ventilated, the work is obviously different. This is why the nurses were very unhappy with this punctuation that would not transcribe, would not, let's say, represent the workload they were having with the patients in the intensive care. And this is the reason why many scoring systems did appear since 1974 until the year 2000, and you have here some of them. You have here some of them. The majority of them has been derived from the original therapeutic intervention scoring system of 74. Coulomb has done one in 93, but then we have done also some modifications of it. But none of those modifications did please the nurses, because they were one or other ways derived from this. And the attribution of the points were again and again more related to the severity of illness, or the interventions related with severity of illness, than with the work those patients were giving to the nurses themselves. So the criticisms of the nurses were that, besides it being too long and out of date, which is again very true, the items were not nursing oriented. The items and the scores were not nursing oriented, and the time-consuming activities, those activities that the nurses perform with patients in intensive care that are more time-consuming, were not itemized events. Many of them were not itemized. So the need for the definition of the activities and the study of the activities become clear. And therefore, we thought around the year 2000 to make a study of the activities that the nurses are involved with in the intensive care, and the of developing the NAS, the nursing activity scores, occurred at this moment and has been, let's say, guided by two research projects. One of those research projects were the description of those nursing activities, and the second project, independent of this but linked to it, was to try to understand what is the time, the nursing utilization in terms of time, but for each of those interventions. So we were interested first in defining those activities, and then to study the consumption of nursing work in terms of time. Therefore, we started let's say around 1995 with the study of those activities with a pilot study. This pilot study occurred parallel to the development of the TIS-28, although there has nothing to see with the TIS itself, but we took profit from the development of the TIS-28 in 22 Dutch ICUs to make, together with the nursing staff of those 22 intensive cares, the definition or the analysis, the survey of all nursing activities performed in the intensive care. And therefore, a psychologist used in the focus group, in work with focus groups, has developed with a selected group of nurses from those 22 Dutch ICUs. They defined the activities and the categories of the activities for the nurses will develop in the intensive care. And at the time they would produce papers, they would produce some relations of those activities. The plenary group of nurses from the 22 Dutch ICUs were again consulted to see whether the ongoing development of those activities could be supported by the whole group. At the end, we come up with 6 categories, and the categories were those categories that were in the TIS-28, but also activities related directly to patient but not in TIS, or activities that are not in direct contact with the patient, which are those activities you have here, and activities not even related with medical activities, such as training, supervision, making duty rosters, and so on, or those activities was the 5th category for the nursing himself, taking a break, going to the toilet, and so conversation, and so on, or those categories that were not consigned in the list of categories of the nurses. And then we have studied, by the way, I will explain you in a minute, we studied the percentage of those, of the activities of the nurse that would fall, coincide with the defined categories. And the nurses found always what they were doing in the categories that were listed by her colleagues, except for 1.9% of the times. So let's say that the categories that were defined by the group of nurses of those 22 ICUs was a very good list of categories, apparently because only 1.9% of the times that they were asked, what are you doing now, they couldn't find out in the list of categories, they could not find out what they were doing at that time. And this pilot study was for us the basis for making a broader study to see whether the pilot study was complete and correct. Therefore, we defined a panel, pardon, I'm touching the wrong thing. We selected a panel of 25 persons, 15 ICU physicians and 10 ICU nurses, and through a Delphi methodology with two rounds, asking them 3 times to reconsider what they have been told and to see whether we could find consensus. This is the Delphi methodology itself. We asked them which are the patient condition-related nursing activities, that are not addressed by the therapeutic indexes and which might have a significant influence upon the use of nursing time in the intensive care. And they came up with several items. But at the end, at the end of the 3 rounds of, let's say, negotiation, trying to find consensus, we found 5 categories, and that was the category of monitoring and titration that was insufficient in the therapeutic intervention scoring systems. The hygiene procedures were not properly addressed. Mobilization and position the same, support and care of relatives and patients, and administrative and managerial tasks. So these were then the items, the 5 items that the panel considered to be important to, let's say, to introduce in a different way in the new scoring system we were developing. When we received the final list of items to include in NAS, we tried then to transform the patient conditions and the interventions into nursing activities. One of the problems with the therapeutic intervention scoring system is that you have too many diagnoses and too many technical procedures, and all of those procedures are executed because of activities, simple activities. And that, therefore, we intended and we tried to transform patient conditions and nursing interventions into nursing activities that would be fundamental activities, let's say, independent of the professional content of the job. To give you an example, for the monitoring and titration, we ask the nurses in this item to check the item whether they have been present and continuous observation for reasons of safety, severity and therapy, usually involving a moderate amount of time or even longer period of time, and then asking them to please check one of those items that would be the item related to his monitoring and titration. So we tried with this to translate procedures of activities with a professional content into activities that were independent of the professional content of the profession. And this is the same for all the other activities we have now. But at the end, we were interested in dividing those activities such as monitoring and titration or hygiene procedures of administrative procedures, to divide them more than saying this is an administrative procedure, to see whether it is something that takes long time or more of even much more time. So we have to define baseline activities and more duration, the activity that would last for longer than the routine time, or even much more. And you can see that the introduction of those 5 activities in the new score were very heavily scored at the end. The monitoring, for instance, the baseline for monitoring was for 4.5 points. But if it was for 2 hours, it was 12 points, and if it was for more than 12 hours, then you would score even more, and about 20 points. And the same for all the others. There was this, the same activity could last for longer time, and this longer time would be scored heavily. How have we done this? I will come back to this in a while. The final list of nursing activities in the ICU did amount to 53 items, and this is important to note at this moment anyhow. We have relating directly to patient, personal care, not in direct contact with patient, direct with patient, not in direct contact with patients, not patient and not medical, personal and other. Okay. The difference between this and NAS is therefore that the items in NAS has been defined and invented and described by Delphi methodology and focus groups technique, whereas the TIS were related to therapeutic interventions related to the severity of illness of the patients, and the weights were attributed by a panel of experts. Now, we have then arrived to the activities. We have 53 activities, has been defined by a Delphi methodology, by that group of 25 professionals, and so that we tried to translate the activities that they have chosen, to separate them from the professional content of those activities. And this is important because we were then no more related with professional definitions or content. But now we were interested in knowing, and this was the other project I just mentioned to you, to see how much time takes the performance of each of those activities. And this was done by a time and motion analysis, of which we can choose normally between 2, and one of them is the work sampling, and the other is clocking. The work sampling is nothing more than asking people, what are you doing at this moment? At the random moments, we ask the intervenients, what are you doing now? Which activity is now the activity you are performing? And this is a rather precise methodology, depending obviously from the number of participants and the number of entries. If you have few participants, then the work sampling is rather poor, or as the information provided by it. But if you have a lot of participants, and if the number of entries is sufficient, and you have a very precise information of what they are doing at the distribution of time amongst those activities. Clocking is a different thing. Clocking is more just with a stopwatch, measuring what the patients are doing and when and how long it takes. It's also, again, depending on the number of entries particularly. But whereas work sampling is the destination of this method is usually for multicentric studies, the clocking is more for one center alone. You are studying the distribution of the activities and the time they take for that organization, for that intensive. An important difference besides the method you are using is obviously the cost. Clocking is a very expensive intervention activity, whereas work sampling is much lower priced. But at the end, the precision of the results, if those methodologic recommendations are respected, the precision of both methods is indeed very high, with the difference. Then, whereas in the work sampling you have an average of time spent, on the clocking you have the exact time spent on that center. Here you have an average among all those centers that participate in the study. The clocking, besides, you need to you do it for one unit, and then you have to precise exactly what kind of tasks you are going to examine, in which circumstances, and so on and so on. We have chosen for the work sampling, yes, obviously we have chosen for the work sampling, and work sampling, I suppose I have explained this already, is at given moments, at random moments, asking the nurses, or in this case the nurses, what are you doing at this moment? They have the list of activities and they have a record they have to find to fill at this moment, at that given moment, and say at this moment I'm doing this activity in this category. And those moments, this random moments in our study was 10 times per shift. So at random, the bell goes, and the nurses will have to fill the record and tell what they are doing. And this 3 times per day, because there were 3 shifts, so about 30 times per day, they had to fill in what they were doing. This is based in the laws of probability, because if the nurse is doing one activity, all other 53 activities are not being done, meaning that the more at the random moment they are doing the same activity, it means that activity takes more time than all the other activities, let's say. The activities are necessarily, of course, mutually exclusive. The moment of the sampling should be random, obviously, and the number of records should be sufficient, but this we have seen already. The eventually drawback of this methodology, I have here put this in red, is that if you are doing one activity, you are not doing the other. The weight attributed, or the percentage of time attributed to one activity, the number of records in which that activity was performed, divided by the number of records in which that activity could have been performed, but was not, or some other thing has been performed at that moment. So the more times it was performed, the higher the weight of those activities. The percentage of an activity is obviously then dependent on the percentage of the activity of the other activities, of each one of the other activities. If you got what I'm saying is this is a proportional thing. If you are doing one activity more than the others, means that the others have a lower weight, but this is proportional to the one that has more. So this is a whole thing. It's the work sampling. The weights of one activity is related to the weights of the other, because the others has been scored less frequently. So you cannot change the activities, and you cannot change the weights. This is a fixed thing. It's a whole. Okay. Now we went to the field research, and we of course took care of the variation of the intensive care which the sampling was done. This was short. It was 1 week collection on 99 ICUs of 15 countries, going thus from the United States to Australia. I suppose we have even from Asia one ICU, if I'm not mistaken. We had during this week in those intensive cares about 2,000 patients and 6,500 nursing days, which come up with 130,000 moments, random moments in which the nurses did fill in what they were doing at that time. This is just to give you the impression of the robustness that came out of the NAS scoring system, because then the average of the time spent with those activities was rather representative. And this is the ultimate nursing activities score. Just to call you the attention to some interesting thing. When you go here and you see respiratory support, for instance, and you see 1.4% of the time of the nurse was spent daily with the respiratory support activities, or 1.8% of care of artificial airways, but improving lung function, for instance, was 4.4. The truth coming out from the analysis of the time spent by work sampling was much different than the attribution of weights that has been done by the panel of experts in the TIS. And this is one reason of the difference between those two instruments. Methodologies were different. Those instruments are indeed very different. And when we look to the proportional weight of categories, of the categories in both systems we were dealing with, the TIS 28 and the NAS, you see that the nursing activities in the score that as 43% represented in TIS 28, whereas NAS represents 80.4% of the nursing activities in the ICU. Why? One of the reasons is that the activities in the TIS 28, those patients' activities that were not in the score or not in direct contact with the patient were included at the end, were included in the NAS. One other difference is that the only difference actually is that personal care is different in the TIS 28 of those 22 intensive cares, Dutch intensive cares, of the total on the time of personal care in the whole sample of those 99 ICUs in 15 countries. So probably this is some kind of cultural of the way of working in the Dutch intensive cares that was at that time different of the other intensive cares. Possibly, I don't know, but it's not very interesting. What is interesting to know is that only 1.9% of the moment that were asked, what are you doing in the TIS during the TIS 28 study, only 1.9% of the times the nurse did not know how she could score this in the categories that were provided, and this was 2.1% during the NAS. This is equal. The amount of categories that has been defined by that panel after the Delphi methodology I described to you is correct. The total amount of the activities is there, is represented in both studies in the same way. The nurses would not have any difficulty in scoring them. Are the two scoring systems equal? No, they are not. They are quite different. And you see, when you scored both in NAS and the TIS 28 in the same group of patients, and this was done in the developmental study of NAS, they correlate with 0.56. The two scores, one with the other, which is as well a very poor correlation, whereas they are measuring the same thing, about similar items. Certainly, the items of TIS 28 are also in the NAS. You would expect that correlation would be high, but the correlation was just not high, it's low, it's 0.56. And why? Because indeed the attribution of points given in the TIS28 are completely different of the attribution of points in NAS, whereas in the TIS there was a panel of experts attributing the points according to severity of illness. In the NAS we just measure the time, we just measure how frequently this thing is being done. Now, if you make a discriminant analysis of this correlation you have here, and if you have the line A is the median value of TIS 28, and the line B is the median value of NAS, you see that along the line A, the NAS is changing or increasing according with continuous observation for more than 2 hours, hygiene procedures for longer than 2 hours, mobilization with 3 nurses, administrative tasks, and so on, whereas the increase, the real things that take time, see, that make the difference on the median of the median of NAS, is all the same NAS in the median, and the change in NAS, whereas the increasing TIS along the median of NAS would be depending on mechanical ventilation, multiple vasoactive drug, peripheral artery catheter, and left atrium catheter, which doesn't, when you have looked to the time that this takes by the nurses, it was to many of them really negligible. Meaning that indeed the NAS not only scores more what nursing are doing, and it is 80% of the activity versus 40%, but they do it much more correctly, because they are more precise in the difference of the time consumed by those activities. The NAS is just a general scoring system. To finish this part of the presentation, it's just a general scoring system. A general scoring system means that it measures nursing time in relation to a list of nursing activities independently of the location where they take place. They are measuring nursing activities, whether those activities are being performed in the ICU, in the medium care, or even in the ward maybe. And this is important because they are not measuring activities, let's say, represented by a professional content on the open activities, loss of independent from the professional content of the specialization of behind those activities, which activity correct. So this means that the nursing activities are described and they made in a way that they may cover a limitless range of nursing interventions related to actual of new therapies and technology, meaning that it is, I hope in any way, that NAS is an instrument that can measure activities independently of which kind of technology, of which kind of diagnosis of whatsoever are related to those activities. Let's see now what is the importance of NAS for management in the intensive care. This is the important thing. And I will try to discuss with you that, to present to you that both research projects that were involved in the development of NAS will have, let's say, a spin-off, an important spin-off for the management in the intensive care. Both the time necessary for the performance of the activities or the activities itself, because they are fundamental nursing activities. And briefly, looking at this, you will see that the nursing time utilization will be very useful for the determination of PN ratios. Let's say, what is the exact, the measured amount of nurse that is necessary for each patient for one patient or for the whole patients in average, let's say the PN ratio. How many patients can be treated by one nurse? and this measures then at level of the patient level or at level of the intensive care. And I will show you that this study will be useful to study the shift patterns of the work in of the study of the activities per shift, and the important thing that brought us here today, how you could use the NAS for the study of the resource use in intensive care. And this indeed with implication for cost and budgeting and for auditing of the use of resources in the ICU. Just going quickly through this, you understand that if you have a score, the score of NAS is precise. You have a score of 100 is one nurse. You have the score of 50 is 50% of the work of a nurse for that patient scoring 50, and so on. Thus, you can determine precisely what is the amount of nursing FTE that is necessary for a given patient. But you can also determine what is the level at which the intensive care is working. If you have several intensive cares in the hospital or in one region, you can determine what this intensive care is working usually, let's say, of a PN ratio of 1:1 or 1:2 or 1:4 or whatever, because you start to know exactly with the NAS what is the amount of FTE that you require per patient. And there are formulas for this. If you calculate the planned level of care of one intensive care, there are formulas for it. Those slides will stay here, so you can look at them at any time you wish. But it is very, very, very simple to determine this, but it's important because then you know that you have an intensive care with a determinate level of care, with a determinate PN ratio during 1 year, let's say, the average during 1 year, and the other one which is different and so on. So you know exactly what kind of flow of patients it could be to take profit of the resources in your hospital. But the interesting thing is that as you are measuring, you are using the NAS for studying the PN ratios, you can have a look at the PN ratios in each department of your hospital. So you can see, well, in our ICU then this now is completely out. Okay. Now is in the PN ratio, for instance, the ICU is 1:1, but in the medium care is 1:4, and in the emergency department is 1:3, and in the recovery room is 1:4, and in the ward is 1:10. Let's say you can do this for the whole hospital. And if you do this for the whole hospital, you have an interesting instrument that will support your decisions of transfer of patients in the hospital. So the discussion of transferring patients in the hospital, if you have this kind of instrument to help you for the policies of transfer, will avoid an enormous amount of discussions, usually more emotion than correct. So the NAS can help you to make a basis, a matrix of PN ratios in the hospital that will allow you to consider the admission and discharge of patients, of transfer of patients from one department to the other. And you can also, of course, make this analysis per shift. And this is important because NAS is not done for studying shifts. So you cannot use it to say, well, this is the shift more than the other shift or whatever. Here is just with the PN ratio, the shift is another PN ratio. You can't do this because you cannot attribute weights. The weights of NAS are not to be allocated per shift, are to be allocated per day because they have been calculated for a day and not for a shift of 8 hours or 12 hours. So this you cannot do. But what you can do is analyze the shift in a way that we say, well, look at this shift is using more resources than that shift. And therefore, I can reorganize the distribution of my nursing resource in a different way so that they are more available at the moment. The match could be more precise between the availability and the need of resources, or the other way around, and change then, well, the activities in a way that they would be performing at the moment that you have more resources available. So that it could allow you to make a kind of reshuffling of nursing activities among the shifts, of reallocation of nursing staff between the shifts. But you have to be careful that this is just the score is to give you an information, not to give you a result. The result is the daily result, the daily amount of the score. The shift is just to make an analysis of the activity so that you can manage it in a better way. But you can also use the NAS at the end of the year, or the end of the month, what period you choose, so that you can evaluate whether the resources you have are enough or not enough for the work you have to perform. Let's say if you divide the total amount of work produced in NAS points, divide it by the total amount of work that is possible to do, of the total work of NAS points that were possible to do during the same period, you can make a ratio that I call this the work utilization ratio, and evaluate whether you are short of resources, or whether you have too many resources that might be eventually being utilized differently. The work utilization ratio is very important, I think, and I suppose you will make a very use of it. Let's see now I indicate what we are going on to this one. The importance of management on the spin-off from the study of the activities, and I suppose I just will look. I go to the cost, and I will come back to this. Let's see then. Well, the cost, use of the nursing time. How much does it cost in the intensive care? How can we use the NAS to study the amount of cost of the intensive care? But I do believe that before we go to this, we should try to get in agreement to a few concepts, very few concepts that are necessary for the application of the NAS in the ICU for studying the costs of the intensive care. The costs can be obviously and variable, and the costs can also be direct and indirect. Cost is fixed when it is constant regardless of production. If you have a building, if you have the salaries, all of those costs you have to pay, you have to expend them independently of you have patients, or if you have patients in bed or not, or if you have an occupancy rate of 50% or 100%, the cost will be the same. So, and the cost can be variable. Variable means with those things that are related with the work being done in the intensive care, and this might be, for instance, diagnostic supplies and medication. So we understand that costs can be, we can't do nothing about this. We can only decide to attribute more or less money to those activities, and the cost can also be variable according with what is necessary for the treatment of the patient. And the costs can also be obviously direct and indirect. For instance, a direct cost might be medication for directly the activity with the patient, or the cost might be indirect, such as activities of services that benefit more than one patient, cleaning staff and laundering and so on. Now, we can make a matrix then of fixed and variable costs, direct and indirect costs, and the matrix is here. But for instance, some costs are fixed at hospital level or ICU level, but they are variable at patient level. So the nursing costs, if you have your staff, you have your FTEs, and it's they work or they have no work, the cost is there, it's a fixed cost. But it is a variable cost at the patient level. So if you utilize the work of the nurse is variable. If you don't utilize it remains fixed as it was. But never at the same time. So it depends how you want to approach your study of the costs. You can consider the nursing costs as a fixed cost of a variable cost, but never at the same time, of course. How can we now calculate the costs of our intensive care? You can do this in two ways. One is the top-down cost accounting, and the other is the bottom-up cost accounting. Let's start quickly by this one, the top-down cost accounting. And the top-down cost accounting is nothing more than you just sit down behind your computer and you can do it. You go to the bills and you look at the expenses that has been done in the last year or a given period, and those are the expenses, capital expenditures, salaries and benefits, building maintenance, utilities, and so on, and the variable costs that I have represented here, and you take all of this known data that you can look at it in the different cost components of your intensive care of your hospital, and you have a total. Then you know this is my total cost. So you don't know the detail of those costs. You don't know how much this is per patient, but you know the total cost. These are the total costs. If you want to attribute those costs to the patient, you can't do more than attribute them in a percentage manner. Then you know, well, per patient this costs us so much. But you cannot know because you have not looked at it in this way. You cannot know what is the difference between a liver transplant and a coronary bypass. This is the limitation of the top-down costs, but it is indeed very important for you, for instance, for budgeting calculations. The bottom-up micro-costing is just a different thing. The bottom-up micro-costing is just starting with a blanco page. You don't do anything, and you just start make the inventory of all cost components. What are my cost components? Salaries and the supplies and this and so on and so on. You know exactly everything you have to look at. You know what is the activities and the tasks of the organization, and just to know to which tasks and which activities are you going then well to allocate those costs, and then you are going to investigate the costs of each of those activities. What does this mean? That you just sit down, you look at the intensive care working, and you start calculating, pointing out everything. This is so much time for this work, so much time for that activity, so much time for this thing, and those supplies and this and that and medication, etc., etc. But on this way, you can make an exactly calculation of how much is the cost in intensive care for one patient or a group of patients, for instance. So, but in this way, as I write here down, the cost of generating care is allocated to the care that was generated. So you know exactly where the cost was built up, and to whom should you then attribute the costs that has been produced. And this, as I have here, also is the gold standard for those places in which the work is a major component of costs, where personnel is a major component of costs. But obviously, the big difference between one cost and the other is that the bottom-up is a very expensive business. Is high implementation cost, is difficult to do, and it is highly accurate. As I was telling already you, detailed micro-costing applies in services with large labor component. Usually, what we do, we know that I'm not an economist. I just have to learn this to tell you. But usually, what happens is that you make a top-down for a part of your costs, and the bottom up for those parts that you can't do from the top down. Let's say what is work, personal work and so on is bottom up, but all of those activities that were fixed costs, for instance, is top down. The use of nursing labor is quite different among patients. That is clear. We have seen this already. They are variable costs. And the nursing labor is the largest cost component in the intensive care. I suppose I'm not telling you any new thing. This is everywhere, I suppose, the same. When you go at the costs of an intensive care, the nursing labor is the most important, the largest cost of the intensive care. But this of the nursing intensive care depends, is variable. Very much variable between patients. Some patients consume a lot and some patients consume less. In the study, just very quickly to give you an impression of this, in the EURICUS study, nursing staff accounted for 27% of 28% of the labor costs. But the costs from the total costs traced, the labor costs was 28%. But in other studies, it come about to the same. The same of Ilgeman is 35%. In the EURICUS study was 37.8%. In the STAND study, with STAND and a half year down, how those studies have been calculated, the STAND study was bottom-up micro-costing. And in the English studies from Dickey's, is 58.7, but this is the difference you have from intensive care units in England or the intensive care in the rest of Europe, except Denmark in Norway, because in England you have a fixed number between 5 to 7 nurses per bed, and in Norway it's 10 nurses per bed, whereas in no other country the numbers are so expressive as in those two countries. This is why you have this kind of labor costs. But the interesting here is that the nurses is 27.8, 28, 35, 22, and I will show you here that this slide here is important, because in this slide I put it here together, those things that I suppose are very, very important to justify the use of NAS in the calculation of cost in intensive care. The first thing is that using our sampling methodology, Kaiser and others determined that this predicts 40% of nursing time in the ICU. This tells you that the work sampling methodology is correct. Is correct because this, as I have shown to you, this represents about 40% of the activities in the nursing activities in the ICU. So this has been again approved, confirmed by the study of Kaiser. But in the study of TAN and others, using micro-costing methodology, this 28 and the NAPS predicted 37 of the nursing time. 37 of the nursing time. Again, about the same as in the study before. Using a bottom-up correlation, gross costing, it is related well with your costs. This is another very interesting information. Then this kind of scoring systems do correlate with the overall costs. Interesting is the study of Ilgeman and others in '94 that the relation between nursing labor cost and total ICU cost remained unchanged. The relation between nursing labor cost and total ICU cost remained unchanged, 35%, whatever the annual average of P/N ratio was. And this is very interesting, that indeed there is a correlation between the total costs of the hospital, of the intensive care, and the costs of nursing. And Negrini, also a very interesting study, certainly for us, that says that the nursing staff costs are the most accurate subset of costing data collected in all the ICUs. all of this pointing to the important fact that apparently the nursing staff and the costing of the nursing staff is an important point for consideration in the evaluation of the total costs in the intensive care. And then comes the other thing: if it is true that we can rely on the amount of on the costs of intensive care, and if it is true that the costs of the nursing staff are well correlated and stably correlated with the total cost of the hospital, then we can utilize here the hourly rate accounting method. Let's say that in the hourly rate accounting method is the same that happens with us when we recommend someone to come and repair our TV. He comes and at the end he says, well, this costs about $60 or $80 per hour. And in this $60 or $80 per hour is the cost of the person that came and the cost of the whole organization, but it's the only way he has to recuperate in this work the costs of the organization. This means that you have to know exactly the total costs of the organization. You have to know the total costs of the workers, in this case the nurses, and then you make the correlation between what is the percentage of our organization that is allocated to nurses in relation this one to the rest, and then you can calculate if 1 hour of one nurse work is so much, the rest of the proportion of the whole of the organization can be put together with this hour, and then is done well the hourly rate accounting methodology. You calculate then how much does it cost 1 hour of nursing work. You know exactly how much is the amount of the whole organization that could be put together with the cost of that hour, so that you would recuperate the total costs of the organization with the work that has been performed, and then you can determine the total cost of the let's say the price of 1 hour. You have the cost of 1 hour and you have the price of 1 hour. The cost of 1 hour is how much it costs directly from the labor, and the price is what it is asked with the reflection of the whole organization on the cost of 1 hour. I think this is easy to see. Now, we have here one thing that is very, very important. We know that this correlates well with the total cost, so we assume that the NAS will correct much more, because the TIS represents 43% of the whole nursing work, and the NAS represents 80%. And therefore, that the TIS does not discriminate costs between, I forgot to tell you this, the TIS does not discriminate costs at patient level, but NAS will discriminate costs at patient level. So this is then, well, the value of the NAS. Using nursing time to calculate the cost of the ICU, this is just what I have been explaining up to now, is in 3 steps. You determine the total costs of the major costs, determine which are the major costs components. You determine the relative contribution of the nursing labor cost to the total ICU. You are looking here, to the relation. You are looking here to the relation of the total nursing cost to the total ICU cost to the labor cost. You want to know if I'm going to apply the hourly rate accounting, how much should I increase the real price of 1 hour to obtain the total cost of the ICU. And then you calculate the cost of one nurse. This is 1 FTE. And then calculate even the cost of 1 hour of each point. Sorry, to calculate the price of each point of NAS point. We calculated this for our intensive cares in the Netherlands, and one NAS point would cost $9, for instance. So, but we know that it costs $9. So if we, what it is here, If then you apply, for instance, for us, the cost of nurses is 1/3 of the total cost of the hospital, then you know that those $9 per point times the total of points, times the total of shifts will be the price of a patient per day, for instance. No. Nursing time is thus well therefore a proxy for cost in intensive care. We hope this is true. I believe it is. And there is research that is being done in Norway, from which we understand that this correlation they have determined it already. So I get that the studies that are being planned to do in this area will show exactly the same. But of course, the hypothesis needs to be tested. Now, we arrived for the moment at the end of our presentation, and I would like to discuss it with you. I'm sure there will be questions.
Catherine, qu'est-ce que vous voyez maintenant comme projection?
On n'a plus accès au PowerPoint.
Oui, ok, c'est déjà terminé. Là, vous voyez bien, Dr. Miranda, c'est correct comme ça?
Oui, lui, on le voit, oui.
Parfait. Maintenant, on a ouvert des questions. Vous pouvez poser des questions. Vous pouvez poser en français. Dr. Miranda comprend bien les français. Donc, il va juste répondre en anglais parce que pour lui, c'est plus tranquille. Mais vous pouvez poser des questions en français, c'est correct aussi. Merci beaucoup. Avez-vous des questions plus des sites qui sont connectés à l'Université de Montréal? C'est juste toi, Catherine, Montréal?
Oui, il n'y a pas de questions ici.
OK. Sinon, nous avons Sherbrooke, c'est ça? Les autres sites qui sont connectés?
Good day.
Tu peux le dire en français.
Oh, je peux le dire en français? Okay.
Oui, il comprend bien.
Alors, écoutez, j'ai beaucoup apprécié votre présentation, Dr. Miranda, et j'aimerais savoir, est-ce que le score du NAS, il doit être évalué de façon constante, ou bien vous faites une évaluation à un moment donné et vous vous en servez par la suite?
I would say that the best thing should be to make a continuous evaluation of the NAS, but if you might say, for instance, we want to know how much one patient utilizes our nursing time with a given patient, how much this is, and you measure a number of patients with that illness, and you know exactly this, then you know, and since now and then you check it again to see whether this was still the same thing or not, or you want to know exact, for instance, the utilization of your resources, whether you have too little resources or too much resources, let's say the auditing of the use of resources, and in this circumstance to have the total points that has been produced and calculated and join them together with the number of points that could have been utilized. But I know now that there is a way of they are studying the way of automatizing the collection of the NAS. So at that moment, this will be no more a problem, because then you can have the NAS collected all the time and study it when you need to do it. Because if you have an online correct collection of data, the is not important whether you are doing it on particular cases. It would be certainly more informative to do this continuously, but you might decide differently.
Est-ce que le monitorage de manière continue de toutes les activités de soins infirmiers, est-ce que c'est fait par un logiciel?
On est en train, je crois qu'on est en train de le préparer, en différents pays même, on est en train de développer des logiciels qui le font, qui vont le faire. Alors, c'est une question de temps. C'est une question de temps.
Merci beaucoup.
L'autre ici qui est connecté, c'est McGill.
On n'a pas de questions.
L'ordre de McGill, pas de questions. Alors, l'ordre finalement est connecté, je pense pas. Hein?
Ils se sont pas connectés. Ok,
parfait. Avez-vous des questions ici dans les publics? J'aimerais peut-être ajouter que dans les projets que nous avons en cours présentement, qui a la subvention de physique, on planifie l'implantation de NAS ici aux unités de soins intensifs de la ville de Québec, d'une façon générale, d'une façon informatisée. Dans un premier moment, c'est l'infirmière qui doit entrer les données de NAS pour avoir son score quotidien. Mais on planifie, comme Dr. Miranda avait dit, de façon automatique. On va vérifier la meilleure façon de l'attacher aux plans, les plans d'intervention, les plans thérapeutiques infirmiers informatisés. De cette façon, on va éviter la double saisie de données au fur et à mesure que l'infirmière va remplir le PTI sur les plans. On va attacher s'assurer que toutes les activités de NAS sont là et ça va sortir de façon automatique un score de NAS. Parce que comme Dr. Miranda avait dit, le NAS est intéressant pour l'estimation des coûts avec des hypothèses encore à tester par rapport aux coûts total d'un patient en unité de soins intensifs, mais aussi pour une question de gestion, pour évaluer l'adéquation du nombre de personnel sur le terrain. Donc, si on a le NAS qui est évalué de façon quotidienne, ça va nous aider beaucoup. Do you have another question here? Another comments? We have here, nous avons ici la participation des invités du Brésil aussi, parce qu'on avait une journée, un atelier 2 jours auparavant pour discuter sur le NAS de façon générale. Donc, les gens qui utilisent le NAS dans le monde, on était ici. Le Brésil est un des pays qui utilise beaucoup. Je voulais juste demander à professeur Padilla, combien d'hôpitaux à peu près au Brésil qui utilisent maintenant le NAS?